Hey guys, what's up? Joe here again, and I'm bringing to you today vlog post number 10. I cannot believe I've hit 10 of these. This is honestly the fact that I've been doing this now for a couple of months, and I've been building up my YouTube channel, and I'm doing my level 3 courses. It's all very, very exciting for me. So this feels like a bit of a milestone moment for me that I've got this number 10 vlog post coming out. Double digits. Um, I'm also starting to work a little bit more on the other side of my YouTube channel. It's been quite hard to do that alongside my coaching and my full-time job and everything else, but I am slowly getting on top of some videos for that. I've been doing some editing of those this morning. So I'm super excited. This is building up in the way that it is. So wanted to just dive in and give you a quick update about what's been going on. The bad news is that unfortunately I've been ill again. So if you did watch my last vlog post, I said that I was off for a few days a couple of weeks back. I basically, after that, I had like a weekend where I was feeling fine. And then, I was then ill again for a week. So I had all of last week off work as well. And then it does mean that it has affected my ability to do coaching and some of my level 3 work as well. But I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. But the positive thing is that I have still managed to do all the coursework that I need to before Module 3. I had my online session today, which was actually more of just a drop-in session. So we had time slots with our tutor, and we just dropped in for like 10 minutes just to kind of check in how things are going. And I think that's very much more the style now from kind of this point onwards, actually, is that the content really starts to um, the amount of content kind of starts to drop off, but actually it's a lot more about solidifying what we know and just having that kind of time to check understanding, to keep checking in. So yeah, I only had like a 10-minute chat with my tutor today, and that's kind of freed up some of my morning to deal with some other bits and pieces, which is good. Um, and then I've got my face-to-face days next week, so next Monday and Tuesday will be my face-to-face sessions. Again, I don't think the content is going to be as heavy in the next couple of days, but I think we're probably going to do a lot of like working with each other and again solidifying the knowledge of what we've learned in module 1 and 2. So just very briefly then, what I've been doing. Obviously, I said I know I've been ill, but I have still managed to do all the work that I needed to. So I had my module 2 reflections that I had to do. They were pretty good. I was pretty happy with what I wrote for those. We had to do some reflections around the principles of practice and how to do skill development and how those principles of practice feed into skill development. And if you're interested to know more about the principles of practice, do go back and watch my last vlog video, vlog number 9, because I do talk a little bit more in depth about the frameworks and things like that. But yeah, we did a lot around the skill acquisition side of things, and we had to do like a reflection on that. So I got that done in pretty quickly. I was pretty happy with what I did for that. And then I had to do my knowledge check as well. So just the little test, watch kind of a recap video, and then do the knowledge check after that, and that was all fine as well. I've done my online learning, so I had 2 lots of SME online learning to do for this module. The first one was around well-being for coaches. Now, this was actually probably the first time that disappointed is probably a bit of a strong word, but it probably didn't quite hit the mark for me and maybe what I was expecting. So there was a section which was around nutrition, talking about things like macronutrients, so the difference between proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, the importance of eating a balanced diet, and making sure that we're not spiking our blood sugars too much by eating overly sweet foods or processed foods, and those sorts of things. And then the second half of it was around just some other things that we can do as coaches to kind of help our well-being. So, if we're particularly busy, making sure we're taking that time to rest, maybe do some meditation, some reading, making sure that we are again kind of eating at correct times, making sure we're sleeping well. So it was still interesting. I think it just kind of like solidified knowledge that I already knew, but I think maybe it just lacked a little bit of depth as to maybe what I was hoping for. I think is probably the best way of putting it. Now, I know that I already do a lot of these things anyway, and like this is some stuff that I've been interested in for a long time. So I'm already very aware of how to eat balanced and how to look after myself and manage my well-being and those sides of things. So I can understand that for people that haven't had that information or don't think about that, it's very important for people to have that basic level of understanding. But I think, yeah, maybe it didn't quite hit the mark for me. But that's not to say it was bad by any means. I think there was still value in it. I think it's just that it's something that I'm already interested in, so it wasn't quite adding to my own knowledge. However, the second lot of online learning that I did, the second SME, was all around doubles, and that was very, very interesting. So there was some things around the differences in like doubles tactics and that side of things, and then also a lot of information around like doubles patterns of play. So I really enjoy teaching doubles. My adult sessions I do. There's one of the groups in particular really enjoys doing doubles, so I use that quite a lot in my sessions. And I always very often talk about there being a net player and a baseline player, and again maybe that baseline player coming up. Whereas this video talked about splitting it into 4 different roles on the court. So you have a serving role, a returning role, and you've got the server's partner and the returner's partner. And each of those people, you've got different patterns of play which kind of are based around those people. And so the learning was all about how to do some drills that are kind of around that, and things that you can set up. But then some of the considerations that you need to take, when maybe coaching different levels of people, what different, sort of beginners, for example, when they're stood at the net, they tend to prefer to stand more across to the sideline, to the tram line, whereas actually you want them stood a little bit further in, and what kind of things you might see and considerations around that. That was very, very interesting. And that pretty much covered everything that I needed to do up to module 3. I also forgot one thing. I also had to do my second lot of demo and feeding tasks. So again, in a previous video, I've covered this in more detail, but essentially I have 11 different feeds that I have to give. So there's things around like the serve, the return, forehands, backhands, and the idea is that you have to show that you can kind of try and consistently hit a specific outcome. So for example, if you're hitting it might be you have to hit a slice serve out wide, and the second bounce has to land outside the doubles tram line. And what you do is you film yourself doing it, you count how many times you get that outcome out of 10, and then you score yourself. And then the other side of it is then also how accurately you do the demonstration. So, are you starting off in the correct technique? Are you doing the correct take back? Have you got the correct ball throw? After you've hit the serve, are you recovering properly? And again, you mark yourself on a set criteria on that, and you give yourself a mark out of 10. So the idea of doing it the second time is to see where the improvements have been made, and there have been some improvements, which I was really happy about, especially with like my double-handed backhand. I've been doing a lot of work on that, and that has improved quite a bit, which I was really happy about. So I've managed to get all of that done, which is good. It was a bit of a stress to get it all done, but I did manage to get it all in place. And now I can go into module 3, having now caught up with everything. The only thing that I would say is maybe starting to lag a little bit now at this point is my player development project, and that's just because I've been unwell. I've not been able to schedule the time in with my player to do the sessions. So I have spoken to my tutor about that today, and she's happy for me to have a bit of an extension on that, which is very, very, very kind of her. And I'm really glad that she's taken that into consideration, just because, as I said, I've not been able to put the time into that. I've just been off my feet for too long. So that's the only thing that would stress me out a little bit, but knowing that I've got that extra leeway on it is very helpful for me, and kind of takes the mental load off a little bit. Just as also a note as well, there's some additional learning that I've been doing and things that have been really interesting. So one of them, so on the LTA Learn that we get, we have the things that we have to do between each of the modules, but there's also a section on some additional learning, and I did have a little bit of extra time, so I managed to watch some of the additional learning videos. One of them was all about junior tennis, and although I don't do much junior coaching at the moment, it was really good to see the framework that the LTA use for coaching at different age groups. So that's definitely something that I would, probably implement if I did start doing some junior coaching in the future, especially at the younger ages. So kind of like, your 5, 6, well, anywhere from like 5 years old all the way through to kind of 12, 12 years old. There's a very kind of set framework that the LTA use. And then the other one, which was very interesting, was around coaching women and females as well. Now I do a lot of coaching of women, like a lot of the adults that I coach tend to be women. So that was very, very interesting for me. And it's all, the first part of that was around to do with like how, what women want to focus on in a session. So there's a lot more around like the social aspect of things. There's a lot more to do with things like focusing on process goals rather than outcome goals. But then the other part of it as well was talking about like the stereotypes, and the kind of issues that come about from stereotypes and how that can affect performance, and not just for women in tennis, but for any minority group that faces these sorts of stereotypes. There's been a lot of research out there showing that even if you have a suggestion of the stereotype on a subconscious level, it then creates a decline in performance. So it's not something that I like to think that I use inclusive language. I like to think that I don't use language which that potentially creates these stereotypes and creates these situations. And I'd like to think if I was doing that, and it was particularly obvious to someone, that they would call me out on that, and I'm always very conscious of it as well. Um, but it was just interesting to understand that and to be aware of that, so that when I am doing my coaching sessions, I can just keep that in the back of my mind and just make sure, I'm not using language that could potentially bring about these kind of stereotype situations, whereby then people's performance are dropping, or people then start to not enjoy the session so much because they feel that I've used inappropriate language on that front. So that was all very, very interesting. I said I've done a lot of learning in the last week. I'm really looking forward to my next face-to-face days, and yeah, I'm just very, very excited at the way the course is going at the moment. So I think that kind of covers everything. I'm trying to keep this one a little bit shorter. I don't think I've done a very good job, but if you've watched this far, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you are interested in anything else that I've been doing on this course, please do go check out my other vlog videos. I'm going to put some links up on the screen for you, so do go and check them out. I said I'm also building some of my other videos up on my channel as well, so again, keep an eye out for those. And if you've enjoyed it, please do like, comment, and subscribe. And I will always try and get back to you if you've commented. Until next time, thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.